Welcome back to another action-packed episode of the Daily Podcast Kung Fu, where myself, Justin Raymer, traverses the continuity of Marvel's most prolific martial artist in Iron Fist, Shang-Chi and the White Tiger. If you want to keep up with the podcast, you can do so over on social media platforms, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you want to keep up with myself, Justin Raymer, you can do so over on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. If you want to listen to me and my friends play some TTRPG games such as Dungeons & Dragons and Star Wars, please subscribe to the Last Tavern on the Left podcast, where I'm currently GMing the game The Infinity Crisis of the Omniverse. It's a very comic book, manga inspired, heavily comic book, I should say. But where my players, Dr. Doom, Kid Goku, and Turtle Ranger Donatello, now as Metalhead, are trying to stop the entirety of the Omniverse from being taken over by the various Lantern Corps of DC Comics. They now know who the villain is behind all of this. They are in the DC Comics universe. They are traveling to the Rock of Eternity, and with the help of Kratos, empowered by hope and willpower, he and Superman start punching through the 7 fundamental forces of the universe to get there. We're in the end game, and my players are excited, and it has been a blast. So if you love playing Dungeons & Dragons, and you love creative storytelling, which everybody says my game is pretty creative, please go listen and follow Last Tavern on the Left, wherever you listen and follow Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu. Now today we're diving into the last set of issues for Swordmaster, aka Lin Lee. I shouldn't say aka, he is Lin Lee. Also known as Iron Fist, the current Iron Fist of Marvel Comics, because we know we are inching closer to the deadly hands of Kun-Lun, which should cap his story as Iron Fist as he gathers team members to battle Lin Fong. We've had some previews here recently. Some concept art, some of the pages from the first issue. It looks to be pretty exciting. My biggest concern about this is this seems like it's coming off the heels. I don't play Marvel Rivals. I don't play video games for the most part. But it seems like a lot of this might be based on that, because I know they're doing the whole Kun-Lun thing. I don't keep up with it or anything like that, but one of the people involved in the game is writing the book. I can't think of their name off the top of my head, and that kind of bothers me. But when they did the Nemesis stuff back in like the mid-aughts, and then they made the books for it based off the game, I thought those were really good. That could change as a long time now. I mean, and my taste in comics have changed. But that does kind of worry me that this story seems to coincide with this game, and I'm hoping there's not a lot of gaminess to the story, and that kind of worries me. But anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to what we're here for. Swordmaster, or known in China as the Warriors of the Three Sovereigns. This is a manhwa, or a manga, or a Chinese comic, as it's all known over there. Your creative team is Shuizhou. This series is translated by Amy Chu for American audiences. Your pencils, inks, and colors go to Gunji. Your letters go to Travis Lanham. And your editors are Mark Panacea, Tom Groneman, and Lindsay Kohik. Today, as I said, I'm covering the last parts of the books, which is issues 9 through 12. All the titles for these last 4 issues have stayed the same. There's no difference between the Chinese manhwa titles and the American comic titles, which was kind of odd to me. All of them have a title, and I could be wrong, but all of them have the little tagline on the covers, but none of that fits the titles in the books, which isn't uncommon with comics. But I'm going to go ahead and just go for them. So, number 9 is titled Friends and Enemies, but the cover says Family Secrets, which you would think would be the last issue of the story based on what happens. It's also my favorite cover, which is Swordmaster with the Sword of Fushi, and in its blade we see the reflection of Chi Yu. I love this cover. Issue 10 sees the Swordmaster being assaulted by a horde of demons. It reminds me of the issue of New Avengers and the first volume, which got Ronan and all the hand ninjas coming down on him. The tagline on this cover is called Aid Against Death's Army, but the title of the book is called Homecoming. Number 11 sees Ji Xuang in her new wand get up, I guess, when she gets the bracelets, even though she doesn't have them. And this is into the tomb of Chi Yu, but the title of the story is called Friends, Foes, and Family. I don't like that we get that reveal of her suit in the cover, because it has nothing to do with the book. We don't see it. Even her, the chief in this book of the Nuon clan doesn't even have this get up. So that's kind of disappointing. She still wears it in the cover for number 12 as well, where we see the Swordmaster holding up the sword and it's shining brightly. We get the red mist of Chi Yu around them. Kind of resembles the fight that we got in issue 9 of this story, but it is titled Blade of Destiny, both on the cover and the issue itself. So these last few issues do have some differences than the previous 8 in that regard. But let's go ahead and go into the story. Having issues getting on a plane with the sword of Fu Shi, Lin Li has an idea. He takes Ji Xuang to meet his friend Cheng because he can't drive. They find him stealing a cheating husband's phone to call his wife. Ji mistakes him as a thief and goes after him for doing so. The two have a brief scuffle that puts them at odds. Suddenly, the sword acts on its own, pointing rapidly to someone in the distance. To Li's surprise, it's his missing brother Fong. Before Cheng can find him himself, Fong has disappeared into the crowd before Li can find him again. On the drive to the headquarters of the New Wan clan, Lin explains to Cheng about how he is a descendant of Fu Shi. As they get close to the base, the demons materialize there and attack. The guards find themselves overran as the trio arrives. Despite Lin Li starting to learn how to use the sword of Fu Shi, it's not enough. Suddenly, a blue energy sweeps through headquarters and destroys every demon it touches. The guards cheer as the chief of the New Wan clan has arrived. After demolishing the demons, the furious chief yells at the guards for letting demons over in the base. As she orders them to clean it up, Ji Xuan introduces Li to her grandmother. She introduces herself as Ji Xuangyang and bows to him as equals. Seeing this, Ji Xuan quickly disagrees but realizes she is in the wrong. Seeing that Chen doesn't belong in the New Wan base, the chief has him escorted away as she shows Lin Li the tomb of Chi Yu. She explains that she guards the body. His sword was supposed to guard the head, and the whip oversees the heart. The chief then explains that it was Chi Yu himself who sent the orb to Lin Li. Using the sword of Fu Shi, Shuangyong reveals what happens at the Tomb of the Skull. They see Fu Shi and his clan buy Qin Yu's skull after his defeat and watch as the clan forgot about its existence over the next 4,000 years. Next, they see Lin Li's father at the site when the skull was freed and try to take the sword for itself. That is when they learn the puzzle box that holds the orb of the soul is made from the chains that imprison the god of war. Shuangyong explains to Li that he is the last of his bloodline and must train to defeat Chi Yu. Alongside her granddaughter Ji Xuang, they will tap into their true power to be successful. Outside the Nuon base, Lin Fong discovers there's a magical maze protecting it. Marking each tree with a symbol of Chi Yu as he tries to figure it out, he hopes his little brother is excited to see him. So, let's go ahead and talk about these 4 issues. Just in the beginning, as we left off, the very last panel of issue 8 has a jetliner flying. That makes you believe that Ji Xuang and Lin Li got on a plane because they were trying to travel to the base. That's not the case when you get to page 9. They can't get on the plane because of the sword. So that's kind of weird. Also, she has the soul orb not too long after this attached to her. Even though all the way through issue 8, she does not have it attached to her at all. It's almost like Gunji forgot to draw it in there. So it's weird as soon as demons attack that it shows back up. It's very strange. Because she's got like these tassels that hang off of her hip in one section, and they're there all the way through issue 9, but not in issue 10 when the demons first attack. It's very strange. I do like how she meets Ching for the first time. I thought that was pretty hilarious. So he's just like walking around town. We see the husband cheating on his wife with this real hot chick. And the dude opens his door. He bumps Chin, kind of mouths off to him. And he's like, dude, you got such an attitude, blah, 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 blah. And the dude walks off with a hot chick. Well, he, being a thief, pickpockets him, steals his phone, calls his wife, shows a video of the man walking away with the girl, and she flips out. I love it. I think it's great. I love Ching. He is such a great character. Sadly enough, we don't see him anymore after this. But he throws the phone away, and Ji Shuang, not knowing who he is, thinks he's a thief and attacks him, and that's how the two meet. And they square off pretty evenly. She's pretty impressed with what he can do. So, like I said, he is my favorite character of these 12 issues, and I hope to see him again. So when we move on to issue 10, when the demons return again and they show up at the Kun-Lun base, it's kind of off-putting. It makes not a lot of sense to me how they would materialize within the tomb, but at the very end of this series, we're seeing Lin Fong try to break through the maze to get in there because it's magical. To me, that doesn't make any sense how they can just appear when he can't appear in there. One might think like, oh, well, part of Chi Yu's there. That's why they're summoned. Then why haven't they been summoned the entire time? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But this battle that happens is actually is another highlight for Chin. As they show up, he, in the SUV that they're in, he just pulls up and starts plowing through demons. And then you're like, well, if Lin Fong couldn't get in, how does he get in? Well, obviously, Ji Shuang has the bloodline that lets her get through because, it's a Kun-Lun base. But as everybody is fighting these demons, he is literally just running over them with a car. I love him as a character, and I wish they would just bring him into Marvel at some point. Hopefully with the Deadly Hands of Kun-Lun. We will. And then we get to, like I said, Lin Li starts to use the sword a little bit more. But we get to really see what Ji Shuang, her mother, can do. And she, well, for one, just the way that they draw the Gunji does, the blue energy around her, she kind of reminds me of a waterbender from Avatar: The Last Airbender. But she's got the bracelets on, which are one of the other divine weapons besides the sword and the whip. And I mean, she is just destroying these demons. And in a way, just kind of what we're seeing, like she takes the energy and she forms a giant fist around it, kind of like a Green Lantern construct, and she sends it blasting into the base. And we see this just massive tidal wave of energy, like a small explosion that just takes out all the demons to wrap up issue 10. And it is a very, very beautiful splash page. And that just goes to show you how powerful these divine weapons really are. And with these weapons come little knickknacks, little, I don't want to say parlor tricks, but other magical abilities besides being very useful in combat. For one, with hers, she can unlock the gate to this part of Chi Yu's tomb, which is the body. And with that, she shows that the sword has the ability, and her weapons might do this too, we're not really sure. But she uses the sword, and the sword, because it's like an intelligent weapon like you would see in like Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder, is like an intelligent weapon, which I've already been talking about. And she looks into its memories using the power of her own divine weapon. And that's where we get the big flashback to Chi Yu being imprisoned, the skull, by the Fu Shi clan. And this is cool. So it says that Chi Yu is so powerful that even when he is split into 3 parts, because that's why they split him up. He was just that powerful after, I guess, in death. That he was still that strong, and their strongest chains, and they have these massive chains, the clan does, trying to hold the skull down, and they're having problems, and it keeps breaking them. So this is what's really cool. Their clan leader it tells them that they're going to use the trees outside of their home. Chop down those trees in the forest and carve them into new chains. One of the clansmen says, "Chief, are you serious?" Another says, How will wood be stronger than metal? And I love this explanation. Don't you remember? We fought the great battle against Chiyu's army in that forest. It is the graveyard of thousands of our fallen brothers and sisters. So much blood was spilled. The rivers, the mountains, and even the trees have turned crimson. In that blood is the strength of the spirit of the Fu Shi clan. Carve these trunks into chains. They will bind Chiyu's soul better than any ordinary metal. And then they do it. The chain, hold it down, the demon cannot escape. Hear me, devil. We paid such a steep price to vanquish your evil. With these shackles, our brothers and sisters will have not died in vain. This place will serve as the monument and your grave. The blood of our people binds you, and this sword represents our sworn duty to guard this tomb. And he shoves it into the skull. And all the green energy from the sword washes over it. For most part, this is a splash page, and it's really beautifully colored. And banish you from these lands until the end of time. Begone, Chiyu, god of war. Begone. And like I said, this is awesome. The trees being soaked with the blood of the fallen army, and their strength and their spirits will be enough to hold the skull at bay. I love that. That's some very D&D type stuff to me, and I thought that was really great. And then that's why we learned that the puzzle box is so strong that it can contain Chiyu's soul, and that's why the demons can't touch it, is because it's made of this wood. And I thought that was excellent. So, like, if I was new on the whole clan, I would be trying to go grab as much of this wood as possible. Because if these can be used as weapons, demons wouldn't stand a chance. We're seeing traditional weapons not hardly do anything to the demons. It's these, you have to be extremely trained to take these things down unless you have a divine weapon. So why not make weapons out of these wood? And then, it goes through the ages and shows them how the clan got lackluster and kind of forgot about the tomb. And then it shows you where the goons blew up the tomb despite Lindley's father trying to stop them. The skull being free and it trying to take the sword. So, like I said, issue 12, pretty exciting stuff. And, and it even shows you, the bloodline and how it works. The blood awakens the sword. We see Lindley's father fall on the sword. He cuts his finger on it. His blood touches it, and that's what wakes the sword up, and it goes to his son. So, like I said, really cool ability that this sword has its own memories, like it's a living thing. And then other than that, the book just ends. It tells you to pick up to see more of Sword Master, you have to read Atlantis Rising. Because at the time this book was being released, and I mentioned this in the first episode for Sword Master, War of the Realms was going on. He showed up in issue 2, and then the Agents of Atlas start, Atlantis Rising starts. So he's already in Marvel by the time this releases and finishes up with American audiences. And at this time, there's not a whole lot that goes into this past all this, but now hopefully we're going to get more answers with Deadly Hands of Kun-Lun. If you love manga, you're probably going to like this series. I've read enough manga to know it's just like manga, which, it's manhwa. It's a Chinese manga, a Chinese comic. So if you like that type of stuff, you'll probably like this. If you like high fantasy, like Dungeons & Dragons, like myself, you're also going to like it. If you're your average American comic book reader, you're probably not going to be a fan of this. It's probably not really going to hit with you, but I really enjoyed it. And I wish it would have never stopped, because after this, Lindley jumps into American comics, and most of this stuff is pushed to the wayside. It's sprinkled in throughout Marvel Comics, and I'm going to try to touch on that before Deadly Hands of Kung Fu gets here. Which next I would jump into the Iron Fist series and then the Judgment Day one-shot. And if I have time between now and Deadly Hands of Kun-Lun, I might try to cover an issue or two, some of the other stuff. I'll try to get his sword breaking, which I think is in the White Fox one-shot with Death of Doctor Strange, because that would probably be the next important book to cover before Iron Fist. But that will wrap up this episode of the Deadly Podcast of Kung Fu. If you want to follow the podcast, please do so on social media platforms, Twitter, X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. If you like my music, check out Rushing Tiger by Kuro over on SoundCloud and YouTube. But most importantly, people, support your local comic book shops and keep reading comics.